After successfully redeeming the second male lead, I took him and left City A. He stayed away from the accident-prone nature and from the male and female leads who would bring destruction to his family. But later, due to a call from the female lead, he abandoned me, who was in the hospital after a miscarriage, and without hesitation, returned to City A. He didn't know that this time, I wouldn't redeem him again. After all, the mission was complete, and I had already received the 1 billion reward from the system. In order to earn more 1 billion rewards, I hastily proceeded to redeem the tragic third male lead. After all, I was bound to the redemption system. The system's rule was simple: redeem a tragic male supporting character, and I would be rewarded with 1 billion. At least a person shouldn't go against money, right? Chapter 1. In the 4th year of redeeming Fabian, I was pinned down by him on the operating table. He made me abort a child that was almost 5 months old. I silently stared at him. Fabian awkwardly turned his face away, unable to meet my gaze, but still spoke with a firm tone. Monica, Veronica miscarried. If she knew that you were carrying my child, it would break her heart. Don't worry. We're still young. There will be more children in the future. When I come back from City A, we'll start over, okay? I swear, this will be the last time. After I've dealt with Claude Coup for Veronica and helped her stand firm in the Coup family, I'll come back right away. After saying that, Fabian released my hand and left without looking back. The door to the operating room slammed shut, bringing a cold gust of wind that made me shiver. I sighed deeply, closed my reddened eyes, and said, "Continue. Make sure to scrape everything clean. Don't delay my next redemption task." After all, redeeming a tragic male supporting character earns me 1 billion from the system. One can't, or at least shouldn't, be at odds with 1 billion, right? Chapter 2. My name is Monica. After staying up all night reading 100 crazy novels on XX, I was forcefully bound by the system into this redemption-filled crazy novel. In the original story, the second male lead, Fabian, was Veronica's #1 simp. In order to protect her, he risked all his wealth and fought the male lead in a business war. But unexpectedly, at the last moment, the female lead and male lead reconciled. In order to help the male lead win the business war, the female lead secretly took Fabian's company's bid documents. After Fabian lost the bid and his company went bankrupt, he still quietly stayed by the female lead's side, guarding her. The male lead, jealous, broke up with the female lead again. The female lead, heartbroken, blamed everything on Fabian. In the end, in order for the female lead to be happy, Fabian, the tragic second male lead, resigned himself to being suppressed by the male lead so that he could stay by the female lead's side forever, guarding her. At the story's conclusion, the female lead and male lead lived happily together. As for the second male lead, Fabian, after his family went bankrupt and he was castrated, he witnessed the female lead happily marry the male lead and, feeling content, threw himself into the sea to commit suicide. After reading all this, I angrily left a comment. I haven't done much evil in my first half of life, but after reading this story, I consider it all written off. From now on, I will rise to the top. Wealth will flow in, and even heaven owes me a bit of good fortune. Let heaven bear witness. The contract is formed. The next second, I blacked out and died suddenly in my rented room. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself as a high school classmate of Veronica, the female lead, and Fabian, the male supporting character. 18-year-old Fabian, in order to avenge Veronica, got into a fight with the male lead, Claude. Of course, he couldn't win and was beaten black and blue. As the system-designated redeemer, I appeared by Fabian's side as a transfer student. At first, I was extremely unwilling. Who would dare to redeem a tragic second male lead these days? Until the system said, successfully redeem the second male lead. Help him escape the tragic fate of family destruction and being suppressed by the male lead, and you will be rewarded with 1 billion by the system. In an instant, my expression changed, and I smiled brightly. Young master, I am late. Old servant. Chapter 3. From that day on, I became Fabian's #1 simp. The entire school knew that I, as a transfer student, had fallen for Fabian at first sight, to the point that I had lost all my dignity. the heart-shaped breakfast Fabian made for the female lead. I cooked it myself. When Fabian accompanied the female lead to look at the stars and moon after her breakup, I pitched the tent. Fabian got punished by the dean to write a 5,000-word self-reflection after fighting with the male lead to defend the female lead's honor. And it was me who stayed up all night helping him write it. Fabian got injured while protecting the female lead and was hospitalized. The female lead cried next to him, drenched in tears. I was busy fetching medicine, changing his bandages, and getting him water and food. The female lead was jealous, and Fabian angrily told me to leave. I cried and desperately shook my head, and my desk mate Zara looked at me as if she couldn't believe what she was seeing. Are all the men in the world dead? You can't live without him? With tears in my eyes, I nodded vigorously. Yes, I can't live without him. No one but Fabian. After all, he was a walking 1 billion. I ask everyone here, who can say no to 1 billion? And so, I redeemed Fabian for a whole 3 years. Finally, the female lead decided to get engaged to the male lead. The night before the engagement, the female lead tearfully looked at Fabian and said, Fabian, I'm going to find my happiness. Promise me, you'll find your happiness too, okay? To reassure the kind-hearted female lead. The next day, Fabian took my hand and brought me before her. Veronica, go ahead and chase your happiness. I've already found mine. I was forced to become a part of their game. I awkwardly dug my toes into the ground the whole time. For 1 billion. I endured. Chapter 4. After marriage. In order to protect Fabian's life, I coaxed and tricked him into moving his company to City H, away from City A and the female lead's influence. Fabian seemed to suddenly become normal. He even wanted to seriously date me. The kind of dating with marriage in mind. I was scared half to death and hurriedly asked the system, do I have to marry Fabian to get the 1 billion? The system responded, you must get married. It's even better if you have a child. Men, when they're young, they'll go to any lengths for love. But once they get married and become fathers, they'll be fine. I suspected that this system was actually my electronic mother-in-law, but I had no proof. To prevent the system from being like a pirated website that never finishes loading at 99%, I seized the opportunity to force the system to agree that as long as I married Fabian and got pregnant with his child, the redemption task would be considered a success. After reaching an agreement with the system, I quickly married Fabian in a flash wedding. The night before the wedding, I saw Fabian sitting in the study, holding a box full of glass candy wrappers, and he stayed up the whole night. Having read the original work, I knew those were the fruit candy wrappers the female lead had given him since childhood. He couldn't bear to throw any of them away and had carefully cleaned and kept them all in that metal box. I couldn't help but roll my eyes. In reality, those free fruit candies were the ones the female lead had casually grabbed from the cashier when she went out to eat with the male lead. I couldn't understand what exactly Fabian was so moved by. Chapter 5. In fact, I had once fantasized about whether I should actually be with Fabian. After all, away from the female lead and the original plot, Fabian really was a great marriage prospect. Young, handsome, wealthy, and he treated me well. But when the bridesmaid team opened the door, and Fabian walked in holding a pair of crystal shoes, it felt like a bucket of ice water had been poured over my head, and I suddenly snapped back to reality. I naturally have wide 4 feet and can't wear high heels. Before the wedding, I had specifically told Fabian about this. Fabian had laughed and said that since I couldn't wear high heels, he wouldn't wear dress shoes either and would wear sneakers with me on the wedding day. But within just a few days, he had completely forgotten what he promised me. It wasn't me, but the female lead, Veronica, who liked crystal shoes. Fabian kneeled in front of me, holding those crystal shoes. The way he looked at me, it was as if he was looking through me, seeing another girl he once deeply loved. I suppressed the last trace of my emotions and coldly pushed away the crystal shoes he handed me. Fabian, I can't wear high heels. I remember telling you this before the wedding. Fabian froze for a moment, a flicker of regret passing through his eyes. Sorry, I forgot. Anyway, the wedding will only be a short while. Monica, can you just bear with it? Chapter 6. I looked at him and suddenly laughed out loud. Fabian, if the bride sitting in front of you today was Veronica, would you still let her walk down the entire wedding aisle in shoes that don't fit? Upon hearing the name Veronica, Fabian's face changed, and silently, he took the crystal shoes and walked out. When he returned, he was holding a pair of sneakers that he had casually grabbed from the shoe rack. Unfortunately, they were the old ones I had worn. A few of the bridesmaids immediately changed their expressions. Zara stood in front of me, blocking Fabian, who was trying to put shoes on me. Her tone was mocking. No way. The heir to the Liu group is not seriously going to let the bride wear a pair of secondhand sneakers down the wedding aisle, right? Fabian looked impatient. What do you want me to do? The crystal shoes were pre-ordered, and she says she can't wear them. The wedding procession is waiting downstairs, and it's too late to go buy new sneakers now. Where am I supposed to find a pair? Zara refused to back down. So, you're saying it's the bride's fault now? Fabian, we've been classmates for years. You knew Monica couldn't wear high heels long before today. And if I'm not mistaken, when we were preparing for the wedding, Monica already told you about it. What did you say back then? You promised that you would wear sneakers with us. So what happened? You could have at least bought a cheap pair of white sneakers. Have you seen any bride wear old shoes on her wedding day? Wearing old shoes on the wedding day was like openly mocking the bride as someone who was unwanted and had no value. The bridesmaids were furious, each of them criticizing Fabian. Fabian's face turned pale inch by inch, and he looked at me, pleading, Monica, it was my mistake to buy the wrong shoes. But the wedding is about to start, and it's too late to buy new sneakers. Where am I supposed to go to get them? Can you just bear with it? Anyway, the sneakers are hidden under the wedding dress. No one will see if they're new or not. Zara firmly blocked me. No, on the wedding day, the bride comes first. If she suffers on the first day of her marriage, will she suffer for the rest of her life? After saying that, she shot me a frustrated look. Monica, can you please be firm for once? If you dare wear those old shoes down the aisle, we're done. Chapter 7. I tugged at Zara's sleeve and pushed away the old shoes that Fabian handed me. Since the groom didn't buy shoes, then I'll just go barefoot. Saying that, I lifted the hem of my wedding dress and stood up, barefoot. In the silence of the room, a surprised voice stood out. It's true. Barefoot people are not afraid of wearing shoes. That day at the wedding, I insisted on walking through the entire ceremony barefoot. After the ceremony, back in the hotel lounge, my feet were bruised, swollen, and in a pitiful state. Zara, eyes red, tossed a pair of hotel-branded slippers at me. Monica, you'll always be a love-struck fool. I leaned in, playfully wrapping my arms around her and shaking her. Okay, Zara, I promise. This is the last time. I silently vowed to myself that once I received the 1 billion reward from the system, Zara, my dear friend, I would buy you a whole room of your favorite limited edition sneakers. But sadly, I broke my promise. That day's grievance wasn't the last. Chapter 8. Far away in City A, Veronica had a miscarriage. She cried and called Fabian, but upon learning that I was also pregnant, she slammed the phone down. Fabian, frantic, searched everywhere and eventually found out that it was Claude's mistress who was pregnant and had come to make demands. Veronica, shocked and furious, had miscarried in a fit of rage. Fabian hurried back to City A that very night. Seeing him leave without a second glance, I knew my redemption mission must be nearing its conclusion. Sure enough, 2 days later, Fabian returned, exhausted and worn out. I was watering the bougainvillea on the balcony, slightly bent over. The loose maternity dress stretched over my belly, faintly revealing my pregnant shape. Fabian's gaze at me was complicated, filled with guilt, which eventually transformed into immense courage and determination. Monica, you should abort the child. What? I stared at him in disbelief. Fabian lowered his head, avoiding my gaze. His tone was pained, but unusually firm. Veronica miscarried. So what? Veronica's miscarriage wasn't my fault. What does it have to do with me? Fabian suddenly lifted his head, looking at my slightly protruding belly. His tone became frantic. Claude's mistress is pregnant, and you're pregnant too. You both have children. So why is only Veronica's child gone? Monica, you should abort the child. Veronica is in a lot of pain, and I plan to bring her here. She just lost her child, and if she sees you with your baby bump, she won't be able to handle it. Monica, please. Abort the child. We're still young, and we'll have many more children in the future. Chapter 9. There won't be a later. I interrupted Fabian's self-talk. You want me to abort the child in my belly? Fine. Unless we get a divorce. Fabian jumped up in shock. Monica, are you threatening me with a divorce? I tilted my lips and shrugged indifferently. You can say whatever you want. You should know. The hospital can't force a pregnant woman to have an abortion. It's illegal. If you want me to get rid of this child, then sign the divorce agreement. Fabian stared at me in disbelief, his lips trembling as he left, his face full of distress. I didn't know what he was hesitating about. If he loved Veronica so much, why didn't he take advantage of the situation? After all, Veronica had just lost the male lead's child, and the two of them were in a full-blown Cold War. Now, forcing me to abort the baby and divorce me, wouldn't that be the perfect opportunity for him to get back together with Veronica? If he loved her so much, didn't he want to give her the title of Mrs. Liu? Chapter 10. However, I didn't wait long, because Veronica had escaped from the hospital, pale and exhausted. She fainted outside my door. Fabian, eyes red, crazily picked Veronica up, turned, and looked at me with hatred in his eyes. Are you satisfied now? Monica, let's get a divorce. I'll have the lawyer send you the divorce agreement as soon as possible. Now, can you get rid of the bastard child in your belly? I laughed in fury and nodded. Indeed, it's a bastard. Tomorrow, after the divorce agreement is signed, I'll have the abortion right away. An unwanted child should never be brought into this cruel world. Veronica arrogantly moved into my house, as if to purposely provoke me. Fabian, in front of Veronica, told me to vacate the master bedroom for her. I remained silent, using the opportunity to move all the designer bags, shoes, clothes, and jewelry that Fabian had given me from the master bedroom's walk-in closet into the guest bedroom downstairs. Butler Zhao helped me move my things, shaking his head in frustration and advising, "Madam, are you stupid? Why would you abort the young master? Just take the child and go back to the old house. The old master and madam will never let Veronica step inside, especially for the sake of their grandson." I smiled and politely declined Butler Zhao's good intentions. What I didn't expect was that Fabian overheard Butler Zhao's words and misunderstood, thinking I was really going back to my in-laws' house to have them intervene. My in-laws had never liked Veronica. If they found out that Fabian was willing to sacrifice his own child just to make Veronica happy, then not only would Fabian have a hard time, but Veronica wouldn't have an easy time either. When it came to Veronica's reputation and safety, Fabian immediately reverted back to the brainless, obsessive second male lead who would kneel for Veronica. He forcibly dragged me to the hospital. With a loud slap, a divorce agreement and an abortion consent form were placed in front of me. Monica, sign this abortion consent form, and I can set you free right away. Fabian's face was cold, his eyes fixed on me with intensity. Chapter 11. He thought I would cry, make a scene, and cling to him. But this time, I didn't cry, I didn't make a scene, and I didn't do what I used to do, desperately cling to him. I simply picked up the pen calmly and signed Monica on the consent form without hesitation. When the pen moved toward the divorce agreement, Fabian suddenly went crazy for some reason and grabbed my wrist. "What are you doing? Let go!" "Monica, do you really want to divorce me? I'm telling you, once you sign this, a month later, there will be no turning back for us." I scoffed and forcefully broke free from his grip. "If we can't go back, then let's not go back." Fabian stared at me in disbelief, his face turning from pale blue to white. In that moment, it felt like something was slipping out of his control. Chapter 12. After I got off the operating table, Fabian had already left. I heard that Claude had chased after Veronica to City H with a bunch of bodyguards, intending to take her back to City A. Fabian, seeing himself as the knight protecting the princess, naturally threw more money at hiring more bodyguards, keeping Veronica tightly protected in his castle, our former marital home. The three of them, the crazy trio, were entangled again, but this time, there was no one like me, a big fool, to redeem Fabian, that idiot. I held the divorce agreement and the miscarriage certificate in my hand and asked the system, "So, this counts as completing the redemption task, right?" The system, like an automaton, carefully checked the 2 documents and then fired off an electronic firework. Congratulations, host. You have successfully completed the Redeem the Tragic Second Male Lead task. The 1 billion reward has been credited to your account. There are no legal risks. Please check promptly. I picked up my phone, and sure enough, I received a bank notification. The numerous zeros on the screen made me feel like I had returned to an alternate version of Chengdu. The next second, the familiar system task prompt sound appeared again. A new redemption target is about to appear. Lucas, male, 25 years old. Fabian's younger brother. After Fabian's suicide by drowning, Lucas initially wanted to seek revenge on the female lead. However, he was moved by her kindness and warmth, and he fell deeply in love with her. In the end, to protect the female lead, he blocked an acid attack from extreme anti-fans, disfiguring him and causing limb amputations. Task goal: redeem the 3rd male lead, Lucas, and help him avoid the fate of being disfigured and losing his limbs due to an acid attack from extreme anti-fans. I replied, another love-struck fool? I won't save him, even if you kill me. The system responded, task reward, 1 billion. I replied, I'll save him. I'll save him. Where is he? Tell me now. Chapter 13. Meeting Lucas, my younger brother-in-law, went as smoothly as expected. I took the miscarriage certificate and went to the Liu family's old mansion. I had heard that Fabian Liu, for Veronica's sake, had even aborted his own flesh and blood, which made his parents furious. Immediately, his father called a shareholders' meeting and announced that Fabian was dismissed as CEO, appointing Lucas Liu as the new CEO instead. His mother, along with a group of high society women, collectively boycotted Veronica's high-end fashion brand. Seeing his beloved goddess crying so heartbreakingly, Fabian was furious and rushed back to the Liu family's mansion that very night. Monica, what exactly did Veronica do to you for you to harm her like this? Fabian grabbed my hand and slapped me hard across the face. My head buzzed, and without a second thought, I slapped him back with a loud smack. Fabian, if you ever lay a hand on me again, I'll call the police. Former CEO of Liu Group arrested for domestic violence by the police on the spot. How about that as a headline? Does it sound spicy enough? Half of Fabian's face was red from my slap, and he stared at me in disbelief. He couldn't believe that the girl who once loved him deeply, who had given up her career in City A to follow him to City H, suffering alongside him, was now behaving like this. It seemed he had just realized she truly didn't love him anymore. Chapter 14. A wave of intense panic almost suffocated Fabian. For a moment, he even forgot about Veronica. He leaned in toward me, his face displaying an unintentional expression of appeasement and pleading. Monica, about the child. I'm sorry, the divorce agreement. I only signed it because Veronica had just broken up with Claude and was feeling very insecure. I did it to make her feel better. Please give me some more time, okay? Or you can stay at the old mansion for a while. Once I deal with Veronica's situation, I'll come back to get you, and we'll go home together. Let's not divorce, okay? I looked at him coldly and asked him just one question. Fabian, if Veronica really divorced Claude and wanted to marry you, would you marry her, or would you marry me? I thought that, as a lovesick second male lead, Fabian would immediately choose Veronica without hesitation. But to my surprise, he hesitated. Just then, Fabian's phone rang wildly. He answered the call, and Veronica's desperate cries came through. Fabian! Claude has captured my mom and my brother. He says that I have to be home within 3 hours, or he'll throw my mom and brother into the sea to feed the fish. Wah, Fabian, please come back quickly. I'm so scared. Fabian's face changed, and his tone became urgent. Veronica, don't worry. I'll be right back. He hung up the phone and looked at me, guilt in his eyes. Monica, this time, Veronica is dealing with something life-threatening. Please wait for me at the old mansion. I'm going to save her mom and brother, and I'll come back to get you. You have to wait for me. Without even returning home, Fabian rushed off toward Veronica, and toward the dead-end path he had been avoiding, but was now willingly walking into. Chapter 15. Fabian left me at the old mansion, which was just the right opportunity for me to redeem Lucas. In the original story, Lucas, a mere pawn in Veronica's life, was one of the minor characters. A simp who found his shining moment when Veronica was attacked by an acid-throwing anti-fan. It was in that moment that he finally understood his feelings. He had fallen hopelessly in love with her. When the acid was thrown at Veronica, Lucas immediately rushed to protect her, shielding her in his arms. But in doing so, he was severely burned by the acid, leaving him disfigured and with both arms amputated. After the amputation surgery, Veronica stood by his hospital bed, crying heartbreakingly, and promised to have her own arms amputated to give them to Lucas. The lovesick Lucas, not wanting Veronica to live with the guilt for the rest of her life, jumped off the hospital's rooftop that very night. After reading this and imagining myself in the shoes of Lucas's attending doctor and the hospital staff, I was suffocating with emotion. For the $1 billion promised by the system, and of course to save the innocent hospital and doctors, I immediately and resolutely began the task of redeeming Lucas. In the original story, Lucas was deeply attracted to the kind-hearted female lead because, as the second son in his family, he was always neglected and received no warmth from his family. When he met Veronica, he couldn't help but fall for her, longing for warmth. With the breakup fee I got from Fabian, I went ahead and adopted over 100 stray cats from neighborhoods all over the city. Then, I rented dozens of acres of land in the suburbs and opened a cat sanctuary dedicated to rescuing stray cats. Since I had just undergone an abortion, Lou's father and mother couldn't bear to see me working so hard, so they sent Lucas Lou to help me with the chores. Having grown up lacking warmth, Lucas was now surrounded by hundreds of furry little ones every day. His genes were rubbed raw from the constant activity. Every day, he was busy making meals for the hundreds of cats, feeding them, cleaning their litter boxes, breaking up fights, his forehead sweating nonstop. Now, it wasn't just warmth, he was practically burning with it. Coco, you're full already. Why are you still stealing Big White's food? Flower arm, don't think just because you're a tabby that I can't beat you. Want to test me? Toby, I beg you. Can you stop rubbing up against me? Every time you do, all the tomcats start clawing at me. Hearing the system notification, * redemption task completed successfully. Reward of 1 billion has been credited to your account. I couldn't stop smiling. Just then, I received a sudden call from Lou's mother. The phone connected, and Lou's mother's frantic voice came through the speaker. Monica, Fabian's in trouble. This fool, to prove his innocence with Veronica, he actually castrated himself in front of Claude. Chapter 16. The next time I saw Fabian was at Veronica and Claude's wedding, which was also their remarriage. Fabian's parents were furious at Veronica, the source of all their troubles, and they led a group of people to cause a scene at the wedding. Fabian also showed up at Veronica's wedding today, dressed in a bespoke suit that was originally a perfect fit, but now hung loosely on his frame. He was hunched over, like a shrimp that had lost its shell. Dad, Mom, this is all my choice. Veronica has nothing to do with it. If you keep bullying Veronica, I'll die in front of you. In the original story, Fabian indeed chose to commit suicide by drowning for Veronica. But this time, due to my intervention, Lucas wasn't disfigured by the acid attack and didn't lose his limbs. He had successfully taken over Lou Group, replacing Fabian as the new heir, with a viable alternative. Lou's father and mother had completely given up on Fabian as their son. Lou's mother looked at Fabian coldly. I'm asking you one last time, do you want this woman? Or do you want our family? Fabian stood his ground, protecting Veronica. Lou's mother smiled. Fine. From now on, I have no son like you. Lou's father followed with his own declaration. From today onwards, we officially revoke Fabian's inheritance rights. The CEO position at Lou Group will be taken over by my second son, Lucas. Fabian, since you chose this woman, from now on, I'll have all your bank cards frozen, and I'll have your properties, cars, and private jets repossessed. And you'll stay by Veronica's side, serving her as a eunuch. Lou's father and Lou's mother stormed out with their people. I stood up. Seeing me, Fabian's face lit up. He probably thought that, just like before, I would follow him no matter what, whether rich or poor, and be his redemption in his bleak life. Fabian eagerly looked at me. I dusted off the imaginary dust on my clothes and smiled gently at him. Fabian, I wish you and Veronica everlasting happiness. Chapter 17. Upon hearing my words, the faces of the three people opposite me instantly turned grim. Claude looked at his wife and her handsome confidant with suspicion. Veronica's face flushed with embarrassment. She glanced nervously at her husband, then shot a furious glare at Fabian. After all, Fabian was no longer the CEO of Lou Group, and it seemed unlikely he could help her and Claude fight anymore. Now that he had become a eunuch, how could she continue to have an affair with Fabian and make Claude jealous? Fabian looked at me in disbelief. Monica, you're not going to care about me anymore? I looked at him in surprise. Mr. Lou, if I'm not mistaken, we're already divorced. As your ex-wife, what right do I have to interfere in your matters? Just then, Lucas rushed in, grabbed my hand, and started pulling me toward the door. Fabian's face darkened, and he shouted angrily, "Lucas, let go of Monica. Don't forget, she's your sister-in-law." I didn't let go of Lucas's hand. Lucas instinctively shielded me behind him and said to Fabian with a displeased expression, "Brother, since you don't cherish Monica, then don't stop her from finding her own happiness. Don't forget, you and Monica are already divorced. I've decided to pursue Monica, and our parents approve." After speaking, Lucas hurriedly turned to me. "I just got a call from the traffic police. They intercepted a cat transport truck at the highway entrance. There are at least 700 cats in it, many of which are injured. The traffic police can't handle it, and they're asking for our help. What are we waiting for? Let's go now." I left Fabian behind and followed Lucas without hesitation. Chapter 18. Over 700 cats, including more than 100 lost pet cats with owners, kept Lucas and me busy for the next month as we worked to rescue these injured furry kids, photographing each one to help them find their owners. Once all of that was taken care of, I learned from Lou's mother that Fabian had gotten into trouble again. In the original story, Fabian, who committed suicide by drowning, died at the height of his emotional turmoil, becoming a tragic second male lead that many readers couldn't get over. But this time, without the aura of a powerful CEO and now a eunuch, Fabian had become a pitiable figure in the eyes of readers, like stale, leftover food no one wanted. After his mansion and luxury cars were reclaimed by the Lou family, Fabian, thinking about the top-tier luxury gifts he had once given to Veronica, confidently went to her and asked her to sell those items, so he could use the money to start his own business. But to his surprise, Veronica, wanting to prove to Claude that she wasn't with him for his money, had not touched a penny of the cards Claude had given her after they got together. All these years, her high society lifestyle and the jewelry she used to show off were all things she had taken from Fabian. Now that Fabian wanted to reclaim these things, what would happen to her luxurious life? Veronica, not wanting to appear inferior in front of the male lead, immediately refused Fabian's request, seeing Veronica drive away in the Maserati he had gifted her, while he himself had to search for discount codes to rent a shared bike. Fabian snapped, "Veronica, you bitch. If it weren't for you, I'd still be the 100-billionaire CEO of Lou Group, and Monica and I wouldn't have lost our child. It's all because of you." At that moment, the look in Fabian's eyes as he stared at Veronica was no longer filled with admiration, but instead, burning with hatred. He rushed forward, yanked open the driver's door, grabbed Veronica by the hair, and dragged her out of the car. Veronica struggled desperately, tears streaming down her face as she pleaded with Fabian. "Fabian, stop. I'm pregnant." Unexpectedly, those words only fueled Fabian's anger further. He gripped Veronica's neck tightly, his face twisted with rage. "You're pregnant with Claude's child. What does it have to do with me?" Thinking about how he had become a eunuch for Veronica and lost the chance to ever become a father, Fabian squeezed with all his might, wanting to strangle her in that moment. "Veronica, I had our child aborted for you. But what about you? You turned around and remarried Claude, and now you're having his child. You killed the child Monica and I had. What right do you have to give birth to this one?" With that, Fabian forcefully threw Veronica to the ground and lifted his foot, repeatedly kicking her in the stomach. Veronica rolled on the ground in agony, blood pouring out from beneath her skirt, eventually collapsing as she stopped struggling. In the final moments of the video, Fabian drove the Maserati straight over Veronica's body, running her over. Veronica died on the spot. and the death was said to have been horrifically tragic. Lou mother cried uncontrollably, grabbing my hand as she said that Fabian, realizing he had killed Veronica, would surely face the death penalty. After leaving, he drove the Maserati down Lakeside Avenue, broke through the guardrails, and plunged both himself and the car into Rose Lake. By the time I heard this, my expression had become numb. All I could think of were a few words: Rose Lake. Soiled. Chapter 19. Fabian Lou's death didn't cause much of a stir in the Lou family. Lou mother was only sad for less than 3 days before she started pushing me and Lucas Lou to get married as soon as possible. Lucas, holding one of the Scottish fold cats we had adopted, looked at me with hopeful eyes. Monica, my brother is gone. Aren't you going to give me a title? I remained silent, but felt a little guilty and quickly tapped the system. Hey, after the redemption story ends, if I really fall for the redemption target, will the bonus I've already received be revoked? The system was silent for a moment, then suddenly exploded with a burst of fireworks. Asterisk congratulations. Host, you've completed the hidden task. After the redemption story ends, you've made your act with the redemption target real. Reward credited, 1 billion. Asterisk. At the wedding, Zara, who was acting as my bridesmaid for the second time, gave me a big thumbs up. Sister, you're amazing. After all the twists and turns, you're back to being the CEO's wife. In that moment, I suddenly understood the true meaning of the redemption system. It turned out, I was the real leading lady. Whoever I redeemed, that person became the male lead.